Today's episode of Shifting Gears is brought to you by Walder Frey Wedding Planner. Have an unforgettable or unforgivable wedding to plan? Call Walder Frey today. Everybody, welcome to Shifting Gears. I'm your host, Clutch. Joining me on episode number 75 is the man that has a nuclear launch detected on his phone.
Excuse me, sorry.
DV Wiggin, how you doing, man?
I'm doing fantastic. Got a fresh summer buzz going here, so no mountain man hair anymore. Still got the beard in mourning for last.
You look less likely that you're going to kill someone.
Thanks. I appreciate that. That's really the look I'm going for. Is the probably not going to bomb something. Maybe if I did like the shades and put the hood up and everything, then I could get like the whole Unabomber thing going.
Dave, do you remember when? Do you remember
Sorry,
when we were going to an MLG event and I had a beard and a little bit shaggier hair and I got like searched because I had darker skin than you did, so yeah. You had to wait. That sucked.
That was one of the only times that I didn't get randomly selected and someone else did. So.
Yeah. Duckville,
a bad record in airports. Duckville, other guy that's here.
Yeah, I think he's going to say something, but hey, I'll introduce you, everybody. This is Duckville LOL, our brother from South America, Australia, locking it down against all the huge alligators that Reddit complains about. And he's like,
yeah, man. Well, you guys like bitching about these alligators and shit that are like, this long, and we got saltwater crocodiles here that are bigger than they're actually bigger than the country, which is why you don't get to see them very often because they're mostly in the water and shit. So
like drop bears, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Like drop bears.
Exactly right.
All right. Well, it's a pleasure to have you guys on the show as always. We're going to jump right into it. Game of Thrones, since we talk about everything on this show. For those of you who haven't seen it, spoilers. Take a break
so many spoilers
for a half hour. So we're going to talk about everything that's happened up till this last episode, and I look forward to what's happening next episode. Because a lot of stuff's going to go down. I don't know how they're going to fit it all in one episode. But here we go. The Red Wedding is what I saw some people tweet about that day. I actually saw people in the WCS North American servers going, Robb Stark dies at the wedding, Robb Stark dies at the wedding. And people were banning left and right trying to stop that. But he totally got killed at the wedding along with his wife and his mom. And as demented as this is, I actually was quite happy because I found their characters so annoying halfway through this season. The ominous music was fantastic, I thought, and it was kind of confusing at first because coming up to the wedding, it's a nice celebration. The guy gets a hot wife from Frey, who I think's better looking than Ula, whatever her name is. Duckville disagrees with me. And they go off for the bedding ceremony, and then one of the Frey sons closes the doors, and the music changes. And Kat looks up at the musicians, and I thought that she was kind of confused that the Coldplay drummer was there, but it turned out to be the Lannister song, and I completely didn't catch it at all. I felt that wasn't set up as well as it could.
I don't know how you missed it. Since halfway through the first season, they've been talking about that song.
They've been talking about it, but
have they ever playing it, singing it? Tyrion whistles it. It's the first time you hear it. Bronn sings it with a bunch of the bros when he's has some naked girl on his knee or something. They sing it every time that someone sings something. It's that song basically.
It's a really weird thing because in the books, I hate saying this all the time, but I say it all the time to my friends. But in the books, it's a little bit different because they, you've both read it, haven't you?
Oh yeah. I mean, don't feel bad about saying in the books though, because you have to compare it.
Yeah, I haven't read the books. I know everything that happens up to the last book though. So.
Okay. Yeah. So no, I suppose just to anyone who's watching who hasn't read it, is that in the books, it's not actually that they've got some awesome band who's just playing this music and stuff like that. It's actually a terrible band because they're all
soldiers,
military guys, like archers and soldiers and all this stuff. And the whole time, all the Stark people are like, "What's with this really crappy music? What's going on?" But we can't say anything because if you do, Walder Frey will crack the sads again, and we don't want to make him mad again because he's a whiny little old man who's 70,000 years old. And so there was that sort of feeling during the whole time, like when you're reading through this passage in the book, because it's from Catelyn's perspective, and that was a little bit different to obviously the show, where basically it's an awesome band. They actually mentioned it, didn't they? They said that must be a really expensive band. I wasn't sure if they were being sarcastic or not, but I like that was a little bit different. There's obviously a lot of changes through the show, but that was a really interesting one. And as you said, catching the Reigns of Castamere playing from the band was something that you either knew and you could tell from watching every single episode prior and taking notes on what's going on, or you completely missed it. And that scene for some people, including some people I know, was just like, why was she suddenly so suspicious? And yeah, so.
Well, at the beginning, what HBO does at the beginning of those episodes is they go back and tell you certain key things that have happened previously in other episodes that will play a very important part for this episode. And Kat talking about Walder Frey and some other things popped up, but the song never did. I think it would have been an even cooler type of opening if instead of the Game of Thrones theme song, it played the Reigns of Castamere theme song or something. I felt that moment was a little bit lost for people that had watched previous episodes only once. But if you're more of a diehard fan and have watched the Blu-rays over and over again, then I'm sure you might have picked up on it. But for me, watching it, I thought... I knew what was going to happen, but I think it could have been more powerful with that music. Go ahead, Dave.
Wasn't there like a scene where Cersei explains in the show about the lyrics and the story of the Reigns?
That was in the last episode when she was talking to Marjorie.
Unfortunately, it was 2 weeks ago, so I think maybe if it was a week back to back, it might have made a little more sense for me.
Yeah,
that's one thing that I've noticed the show misses is there's a lot of, compared to the books, there's a lot of little subtleties and things like that. Like, so if you didn't realize what was going on with the show, did you realize why they passed around salt and bread at the start?
No, I didn't. What was that for?
That's another huge thing, and it's sort of what makes the Red Wedding stand out so much. Is
because it's kind of, isn't it like a host and a guest, and it's kind of like a sacred bond?
There's a massive tradition in the books of guest right. And if you break bread with someone under your roof, you can't do any harm to them. Yeah, bread and salt. So that's why she was like, they were all so quick to eat the bread and the salt and stuff like that, because they knew that it's a sticky situation, but now they have the guest right, like, to protect them. Like that's such a tradition in that setting that, like, if Robb Stark and Jaime Lannister sat down and they had guest right, they wouldn't fight. Like, it's that level of, like, you don't violate that. Which is part of why it's such a ridiculous betrayal. And that's it's the little stuff like that occasionally the show misses out on.
Yeah.
And it's not only that either. Like, the actual part of the traditionalized sort of thing of the breaking bread and salt thing is the backstory relating to the guy who cooked the prince and served it to his father, and the gods weren't forgiving of that shit, and they're like, "Ooh, that's not cool." And turned him into a rat and made him eat his kids or something like that. And that kind of backstory is really, like, it's really interesting, but I can totally understand how you can't fit it in, but still it is in a way, it's still, like, that's really cool and really important to have these things there. But $6 million budget per episode, you can't fit everything in.
Is it $6 million per episode? It's $6 million per episode.
Yep.
That's actually really high for what they crank out, especially with the special effects. Special effects are not that good. The dire wolf, it's like, it's okay.
The dire wolf, in most part, is actually just a as far as I remember, it's like, for most of the scenes, it's just a Photoshop normal wolf, just like a bigger one.
Yeah, initially I thought that was a lot, but then when it was explained a little bit, considering, like, what they're going for, they're very rarely reusing sets and locations.
Well, that is true, and a
lot of
their
it's
armor
CG.
Looks very authentic. So I can see in their budget that they have a lot of good, authentic-looking things, and they have actors that are basically unknown.
Yeah, it doesn't look like a show. It looks like a movie. So and it's an hour every week.
With the artistic style, I can see, but It's just with the CG effects, I've been unimpressed with it. They still looked okay, but a couple times I'm like, ooh, that's not, ooh, that's. I thought it could be better. But hey, you know, you have to. What are you going to spend most of your budget on? Real actors that you see on camera 99% of the time, or the 1% of CG that you see? But yeah,
and like the only real known actors in there, like when I say known, I mean to.
What American Western audience known?
Yeah,
these actors are known on stage in England, Ireland, Scotland, those areas, Iceland.
Yeah, like Lena Headey. Is probably like the only person who I could think of who, average person who doesn't watch much and doesn't sort of pay attention to, you know, TV, movie sort of news would know about. Other than that, like, you know, Charles Dance is actually an amazing actor who does Tywin, and he's pretty big, but obviously unknown comparatively to someone like Lena Headey.
Well, and it's quite a gamble too when your headliner Sean Bean dies in season 1, and when that happens, I go,
that's how they keep the budget low, right? So they never have to. They have to pay anybody more. Like, oh, you've been here 5 seasons. That's just not going to happen. Right?
Just like $5 million that goes to Lena Headey.
The first thing that I thought when Sean Bean died, I thought, who's going to carry the show now? Because there's the girl that I know from Terminator, Lena Headey, and then Tyrion, who is Peter Dinklage, who was in The Station Agent and a couple of other roles, and that's it. So, but that's not honestly the most healthy way to think in terms of entertainment. That's how, unfortunately, a lot of studios think, and even HBO will think, well, if our headliner is this actor, and they're not going to be on it anymore, how are we going to carry the show? And the showrunner or the producer will say, hey, we have to cast people that are good at their craft, they're good at ensemble acting, and they can hold their own. And they completely have done that. I'm just glad that Robb Stark, his wife, and Catelyn got killed, because every time they came on screen, I'm thinking, God, stop making stupid mistakes and having stupid conversations.
It was, it's like when I was reading through book number 2, and then for the first quarter, I want to say, of book number 3, every time a Bran chapter, a Catelyn chapter, or who was there? There was someone else. Every time you turn the page and it's like Catelyn, and so you know it's a Catelyn perspective thing. I was like, God damn it, because all she does, it's very emotional, and like, of course, being in that sort of like the female character sort of role, there's a lot of emotion in what she's doing, and a lot of really hard thinking about what she's doing, and it kind of made it a little bit boring to read. But then I saw something on Reddit. Someone's like, yeah, if you kind of look at it from the perspective of each person is playing their own Game of Thrones, you just have to adjust your thinking for it. It actually does become a little bit more sort of interesting to read through those chapters.
That's very true.
Yeah, but just on the Ned Stark things, like a couple of people were mentioning Ned Stark dying and all that kind of stuff. I saw a picture. I'm sure you guys and most people would have seen it anyway. But the picture of they had the Winter is Coming picture, and it said Eddard Stark has joined the server, and then it said Eddard Stark has left the server.
Yeah. Dude, I saw that on Reddit too, and somebody sent that to a friend of his. He tweeted it or texted it right when she's like,
good.
We're gonna name the son Eddard, and then boom, gets stabbed. No more Eddard. No more Eddard in this kingdom. No more Eddard Stark. Yeah, they killed.
Was the Wedding Crashers poster with Bruce and Walder Frey on it.
Yeah.
Or the GIF of that song White Wedding, but calling it Red Wedding and having Bolton on the guitar. That was really good too.
One of my favorites, I found a picture of Lord Bolton, and he's doing the Roddy pose, the Rotterdam pose. So I tweeted that out real quick. So it was perfect. I really like Lord Bolton's character. I love how the actor portrays him, especially in that wedding scene when the older uncle, what is it? Something Stark, Kirk Stark, something like that. Blackfish, yeah.
Oh, wait.
No, Blackfish is not the Kirk Stark. So the other Stark.
The oldest one.
Yeah, he was like, yeah, drink. And he's like, no, it dulls the senses. Otherwise, I need to be able to dodge arrows as easily as possible. And when Catelyn, when she hears the music and she looks at Lord Bolton and he's simply looking at her and she takes off his... I felt the sequence was so well done, how she removes his sleeve and sees the chainmail underneath, and then she freaks out and knows, oh no, run.
And that look is just like give a shit that you know, bitch. Really
what was the difference in the book with Ula's character, with Robb Stark's wife? Was she even there?
Una,
sorry.
So
Ula. I'm thinking of Star Wars.
It's a completely different character in the book. It's this woman named Jane Westerling, I think, right?
Yep.
Westerling? Okay. And it's just some minor house, whatever. The reason he married her is because in a moment of weakness, he slept with her because she was taking care of him when he heard that Bran and Rickon and all them had died. And then so he married her, and it wasn't really for love. It was because he wanted to do the right thing and didn't want to sire a bastard like his father apparently had with Jon Snow.
Wow, that's like even a worse decision, because then you can just put her away and have a bastard and then not give up the whole entire war.
Basically, he saw that.
Sorry.
I was just going to say he saw that how hard a life that Jon Snow had in some ways.
That's true. I always love that monologue when he's speaking to Sam about how he was going to sleep with Rose, but he decided not to because he didn't want to father a bastard himself. That's when I became a huge fan of Jon Snow, when he had that monologue. I go, this guy is cool. Oh yeah, I can understand that then.
Yeah.
But
it's also not clear if she's even pregnant with his child or not, and she's not there at all. So it's like a completely different.
What happens to her then in the book?
You see her later on in the future, I think, right?
Okay.
Well, in terms of the wedding, yeah, she wasn't there because she got left. She got sent back to the Westerling Crag, and because the other part of Jane Westerling is that she's from the group of people who are actually, in terms of geography, their land is actually very close to Casterly Rock, and so like as a byproduct, it's kind of a good little position to have, that you've taken over this little bit of land and you kind of control them in a way. But yeah, there's further stuff that's revealed later on with her in the book, so I'm gonna throw out book spoilers, but
no book spoilers.
Yeah, and obviously in the show, that's a big change, is the fact that Talisa died, and it hurt me a lot because that's one piece of my eye candy now gone.
Rose is gone, now she's gone.
Rose isn't gone.
Yeah, she is.
What do you mean?
2 episodes ago. Not Rose Leslie, I'm talking about Rose the prostitute.
Oh, Roz.
Roz. I called her Rose.
No.
Sorry, Roz.
Yeah, no. I'm like, what?
Yeah, Roz.
Yeah, no.
Because of red hair.
Yeah, no, that's cool. Sorry. But no. Speaking of which, I guess we should sort of mention. Obviously, Wigan and I are aware of, and I think Clutch as well. Yeah. You know, next week is going to be pretty big as well. Obviously, a season finale, but it's how
can they fit everything? How can they fit everything in that one episode?
I don't think they will.
It's going to be pretty huge. They will need to cut. I think, because there's a lot that happens in this sort of this next episode of the book, but they may need to cut some of it down. Obviously, there's going to be a lot of production value that goes into it. But the one thing which I do want to say is that a lot of people through this season, just generally friends of mine, have sort of been saying, yeah, this has been a really, really boring season. I'm glad that something finally happened.
Yeah.
I sort of would say to people who were sort of a little bit tentative about the show, how it's boring, and then suddenly everyone dies and everyone gets mad about it and all this stupid crap that I saw on Twitter. From now until the end of season 4, it's a freaking roller coaster of what's going to happen. So I don't know if anyone, I really hope that no one watching us at the moment is tentative about watching the show anymore just because they're having a cry about it.
At the very least, give it one episode. I had to tell, because I watch it with a group of friends. We all get together and watch it Sunday night. Yeah. And Josh. Yep. He was so depressed by it. He's like, I don't even know why I should watch this anymore. Every character I like is dead now. And I'm like, just at the very least, give it one more episode, because
yeah, it's amazing to think of the power of the show. That I know a lot of people would have been overreacting, and a lot of people are just dumb. But the power of a show to have a single scene where people are just suddenly in shock. There's all those amazing amount of compilation videos of reactions to the Red Wedding on YouTube, and then you have people who are like, I don't want to watch this, And then you have someone like me. I was tweeting and on Facebook and crap like that. I was actually I was pretty screwed up. I wasn't like in a ball crying on the floor, but I was just sitting here like with my jaw on the ground. And that's as someone who has read the book, because I'm sure you guys probably would have been the same. Reading through it, watching through that episode, you're kind of sitting there and you know what's coming, and you're like, oh God, it's about to happen. Oh God, it's about to happen. And then it didn't happen.
Even
and then you get to that final scene where the doors close, and you're like, oh God, oh God.
The ominous
chills when the music starts, man.
Yeah.
It's just like, like literally, it was me, a friend that has read the book, and then 2 friends that hadn't read the book. And like the music starts, and both me and the guy who had read, we just go, and we looked over and just watched the faces of the people that hadn't read it yet, and it was just dead silent.
Well,
like I'm really curious to see, like, of all the people, especially if you're in the chat and you can answer this, if you watched it with a group, like how long was the room quiet when the credits rolled before anyone said anything? Because it was like a full minute of silence when we watched it.
And it was perfect they didn't have any music at the end of the credits. In hindsight, too, of that little piece that Ari had with the Hound saying that you're getting closer and closer, girl, and the closer you get, the more afraid you are. And then you realize she's so close and they're all dead. And they got to go. That's heartbreaking, man. That sucks.
Yeah. I suppose there's a couple of other things we should refer to that weren't directly as part of the Red Wedding story. But you mentioned Arya with her that ending bit there where she is arriving with the Hound and they're on the cart and they're bringing in the pig snouts and feet and whatever. Yeah. I was a little bit surprised that they didn't do what they did in the book, which was to sort of make it that it was like, oh God, Arya's dead as well. Because one of the basically after the Red Wedding happened, they and obviously this isn't a spoiler because technically they've already passed this bit in the show, so don't worry guys in the chat. They after the Catelyn chapter where she died, which was a very emotional chapter, maybe it wasn't directly after, but the next chapter after that. But they had an Arya chapter where she arrives, just like in the show, and the Hound's like, yeah, don't go there because everyone's dying, blah, blah, blah. And at the end of that Arya chapter, the line was something like, and she didn't even see the axe flying towards her head, and that was it. And so it's kind of like, oh shit, did they just kill off all the Starks because Arya has been hit in the head with an axe? But it was like a few chapters later, she'd just been hit by Clegane with the axe to knock her out. So it was I found that really surprising that they didn't do that. I would have thought it would have been really interesting just to.
That would have been too much, man.
He just punched it.
It would have taken away from the wedding scene, I think. Yeah, I think it honestly.
That's true. That's true.
Because it's okay you can do that in the book because you turn the next page and you see Arya at the top of the next chapter. You're like, oh, okay, Jesus,
Yeah.
But if you have to wait, no.
Yeah. Well, we'll find out. I think, you know what? I think if they fit everything in this upcoming episode, I think the internet's going to explode even more than at this Red Wedding.
Probably, yeah.
I think it will. And the reason why I want to include this to some of the people asking in chat, like, why are you guys talking about Game of Thrones? Because this is a worldwide phenomenon. And this goes to show you how cool it is to be connected over the internet and to be in different communities, be it an eSports community, gaming community, video community, whatever, and you all get to talk about this. This is still the power of broadcast television, to have everybody at one place at one time to watch it all together. And it's part of the magic of it. And I think it's a great experience to have. And people are like, don't talk about spoilers on Twitter. It's like, dude, just don't get on the internet. That's until you watch it.
That's what you got to do. Like, it's your fault if you go to a social media place and you don't want to get spoiled by something, man. Come on.
I know.
That's why I really.
I say fun stuff.
That's one thing that I get really pissed off about quite a lot is people sort of whining about spoilers on Twitter, and it's like, yeah, sorry for going on a social media and doing something social. I'll just go talk into my fridge about Game of Thrones or something like that.
My favorite one was a picture of Edamir with all the girls, and he's running, and it says, "Doesn't matter, had sex." He lucked out, man. That chick was hot. All right. We got about 30 minutes to go here. Let's talk about some esports. WCS Korea. Talking about a worldwide event that was powerful. Seolki wins with a crazy comeback. And Innovation was up 3-0, then Solkey comes back. Solkey was a nice kid when I met in Anaheim last year. He has the power to come back like that. That was a big surprise. That was pretty cool. Duckville, I know you watched parts of it, I believe.
I watched all of it.
Okay.
We got up to game 3, and then Innovation won game number 3, and I actually posted on Twitter. Initially, it was a little bit more of a traditional kind of situation where I said, if this goes to game 7, I'll eat my hat. But then I changed it because I thought it was just so freaking ridiculous for him to actually go to a game 7 at all. I said, if this goes to game 7, I'll stream me eating a jar of Vegemite, which you guys probably wouldn't really know, but it's a pretty disgusting thing to do. So yeah, that was really weird. I don't know. I kind of looking at those matches. It was just like, I'm not really sure what happened. There weren't really that many Hellbat drops, were there? There was only a couple of games where Innovation was doing like proper Hellbat dropping, if I remember correctly.
I mean, but a Zerg player built static defenses and didn't die to Hellbats, so
yeah. I mean that's standard. That was a thing which he did really well, which was when there were the Hellbat drops, which again I'm pretty sure there was only like 2 or 3 games out of the 7, which I found very surprising. He recognized it quite early, had the roach warren up with a small group of speedlings and some roaches, then had a spore in each mineral line. He didn't go the full 9 yards with a spine and a spore every time, but as long as he identified it, he was quite happy to deal with that without needing to pull drones, without needing to go massive on the static defense. But he recognized it and dealt with that really well, which is partly why he was able to just come back and go and effectively go 4-0 when you think about it. After like game 5, like 5, 6, and 7, it kind of seemed like Innovation switched off. I don't know. It was really weird, but I do think that Hellbats need a buff. That's clearly evident from that game. So.
Well, wasn't it that basically every game that wasn't cheese involved a Hellbat drop, right? And I say cheese, but pretty much every game, especially the first 4 or so, were like they were proxy 2-racks or like baneling busts, various things like that, right?
I think so, yeah. Yeah. I did find it funny that after the finals, not directly after, like the next day when I was playing on ladder, I play random for anyone that doesn't know. When I random Terran against Zerg, I had to prepare for bailing roach busts every freaking time. Yeah. It was so annoying.
It is. Oh, gosh.
It's like, seriously, the flavor of the day. Like, anything that happens in GSL, it's like, yep, guys, gotta write that one down. That's happening tomorrow on the ladder. And I mean, it happened with the SOS doing the cannon build on Belshire against Sulky last week or whenever it was. That thing, I've seen that thing so many times now. It's incredible.
Well, when it was all Terran versus Terran and people were trying to figure out different ways to have that engagement, and they started doing proxy racks Marauders and TVT, started to see that. I was like, I'm going to try this, and I tried it once, and I go, I don't like it. I don't like this at all. It felt so dirty. Well, I wanted to briefly mention what the studio in San Francisco is doing, the ex-IPO guys, now the Blizzard guys. They have the WCS Today show that's been going on. I've seen bits and pieces of it. What I haven't seen, and this could just be a fault on my part because I've been really busy with some other things here, I haven't seen a highlight video of the journey of Sulky for that season. I would love to see a highlight video of that season of the WCS Season 1 Korea, from the first game he played in, some of the highlights, into the journey of him winning. I think that would be a really, really neat 5-minute video that somebody could play, and that's the type of content I want to see come out of that San Francisco department for Blizzard. That kind of story-building type content.
That would be interesting, yeah.
And that would be, and then they could have that done as a 5-minute standalone piece, and then when they make hype videos for Season 2, they take splices out of that, maybe a couple other player journeys and a couple other moments, and that's how you make a Season 2 hype video.
Film TV kind of had one. as their intro.
GOM TV does some great things.
It would be good to see Blizzard do it too.
Yeah, it's kind of tough when GOM has to focus on the live thing and do the edits as well, but that's their job. And also what gets lost in translation between Korea and English.
Yeah.
So, but GOM's one of the best in the world. They're doing fantastic. Duckville, since you're on that side of the world, you had some barcrafts going on for those times. We really couldn't go out at 2, 3 o'clock in the morning over here in America. So how did those go?
Yeah. Didn't even think about that. Yeah, they were really good. We had Oceanic eSports, the team I am with. We had a couple of events that were really good. The Sydney Barcraft went off as it usually does. I don't have the numbers for it. I don't remember, but like normally the Sydney Barcraft is actually like the biggest barcraft in the world, just because there are so many people that rock up in at the Paragon Hotel in Circular Quay. But Blizzard, the ANZ, Australia New Zealand Blizzard team, sent the gear, which was like what was it? It was like coasters and authenticators and all sorts of random sort of stuff that was throw out there. Yeah, a bit of swag. It was really good to have Blizzard help out with that kind of thing. Like I think it's actually the first time that they have sort of sent out big bunches of swag to people for barcrafts, which is really good because apparently Riot has actually been doing that for a very long time for the MOBA things that people have for League of Legends. So it's good to see Blizzard doing that kind of thing. We had they also had like cheerfuls as well, so people were able to make their own signs. But there was that, which was really good, which was really cool. And we had the Perth one as well, which went down really well.
Would you say over the last year that barcrafts in Australia have been getting bigger and bigger, more attendance-wise? Or there's just been more of them? Okay, or both?
Definitely. The one here in Melbourne that I have gone to a couple of, it's grown consistently, and the initial one that we had last year, whenever it was, I can't remember, was actually really good. It was the first one was really funny because the place that we have it at, it's called the Exchange Hotel. It's just right in the center of Melbourne. There was so many people. It was actually packed out, and it was like kind of hard to move sardines in a can kind of situation. And there were only there was like a projector screen thing, and there was like 2 TVs that were around the place, and it was kind of hard to see what was going on because the Exchange Hotel obviously wasn't really prepared for how many people were going to be coming in. So there was that, which was really funny. But yeah, I think it definitely is growing. Like with the events that we host, the Oceanic eSports stuff is really big. In terms of general esports, the League of Legends stuff is pretty decent as well, along with the Dota 2 pub stomps that we do. I think it's really growing, and I think it is just going to get bigger and bigger, and it as long as like the one thing which I think everyone needs to be careful of is actually having good interaction between some of the barcrafts. Like I think it'd be really nice to see a little bit of transparency with some of the groups that do the barcraft as well, just to make sure that things are interacting quite nicely. But that's sort of another sort of story. But yeah, I think they're really good. I would really like to see them pop up a lot more around the world. I mean, there's obviously, like, you guys have the one that was there at in New York for MLG and over
the Legends one that last year and a half ago it was doing okay, but it seemed to did really well for this last weekend. Southern California, it does a really good one. David and I went to the Barcraft Boston one for IPL 4 or IPL 5? IPL 4. And that was a lot of fun. That was packed. So the ones we've been to are great. And the Southern California one is the one I'm able to go to when I can. And it's always a blast and always gets really packed where we go. And Buffalo Wild Wings, who's the one that the Barcraft takes place in for Southern California, they love it because the people that attend the Barcraft actually pay or buy more food. And they are nicer compared to UFC people. So that's pretty...
That's a shocker.
Yeah.
UFC douchebags, which is totally not me.
No. All right,
well, nerds are nicer than people in affliction t-shirts.
Yeah, think of that. Think of the Think of the possibilities, man. I don't own any Affliction t-shirts, but if they want to sponsor me, hey, we can talk. All right, WCS NA, Hero wins. Big surprise. Psych, Korea wins. Korea wins. You know, it still was a fun event to watch. Rotterdam and Mr. Bitter were there to commentate. They were excited to be commentating StarCraft up there. And from what I saw, production-wise, wasn't too bad of a show. I liked the Moonglade interview they did. I wish they had more interviews like that with the rest of the players. What MLG really needs, and I've been telling this to them for years, they need a media day before the actual tournament starts. They need to sit down with all the players, have interviews, so that their editors can sit down, have it all ready to go by the time the tournament starts the next day. To have more filler content for quick little interviews, quick little bios of the players about to go up against each other, and have 2 or 3 separate ones that are fun. They could last as long as 20 seconds long.
That's a really good idea. I didn't even think of that.
Yeah, well, I mean, I've been doing this for a long time. So seeing that, you get more connected to the players, and the people that are not as experienced with these players or even the format of how it works can get that emotional human connection to who's playing and actually feel invested in the esports that's going on. I feel that, you know, MLG was taking some steps in the right direction, but again, not having a live audience there is a little bit tough for the overall feel of the finals of the stream. But there's nothing that MLG can do in that space that they're at. There's really no room. The only room there is for people that are actually helping with the stream and putting the stream together or running it. The admins, a couple spectators that were there. But all in all, I think it was a worthy event. And again, I was rooting for Snoot and I was rooting for Moonglade because they're not Korean. Nothing against the Koreans, but we wanted to see a foreigner, you know, go far. Just like we wanted to see Stefano win Europe to represent Europe. We wanted at least a foreigner to represent North America. I mean, at least Moonglade, because he technically is Amer-Australian, and that does represent the region.
Snoot played really well, though.
Yeah, he did. He did.
Snoot, yeah, Snoot some.
The storylines were there to be like, oh man, this, like, we're really pulling for these guys. There was the underdog story, but in the end, the Koreans took it. So, Dave, your thoughts? You got to admin this entire season. Your thoughts of the finals, your thoughts overall?
I got to admin it all except the finals. But, no, I don't know. I enjoyed it. I think everybody sort of knew it was going to be a Korean run. Like, you know, the Koreans were going to run the table at the end. Yeah. But, I don't know. Like I said, Snoop played really well. He definitely could have won a lot of the games he lost anyway. So that was nice to see. And at least it was, like, foreigner teams, like Koreans on foreigner teams, like EG and
EG
Team
versus
Liquid.
Team Liquid.
And everyone likes anytime Hero wins. So
yeah, he's the hero we deserve.
Yeah, he's been a beast since Pro League too. It seems like he's finally gotten over his nerves a lot and stuff like that. So it's good to see him doing well.
Just on that media day thing, what do you reckon about a post finals conference thing like they have in UFC after like a post fight?
Yeah, you know, it could be later that night after the awards ceremony. Man.
Even both, like that's what I'm saying is even both have one pre-match and then post-match.
I mean,
I like the idea of the medium day ahead of time, but afterwards, like, I mean, there's a reason you end things when you end them. Like, maybe if you want more content that you can just throw out in the future.
Well,
like
you would use that to prep for Season 2. You would use that for hype videos for Season 2. This wasn't... The day after wouldn't be broadcasted. It would be videos of, you know, Snoot, you made it this far. What are you going to do to prepare for the next season? Snoot's would be like, you know, I have a training discipline I'm going to go with. I'm going to talk to a coach. I'm going to do something like that. And then you play that when you have his first match for Season 2 up against somebody. You have that in the game.
You have like...
Yeah, but I don't think you're ever going to get an answer like that, right? Like, Koreans are going to be like, oh, yeah, it was close. The other guy played really well. I'm going to practice a lot. Like, okay, thanks. That's really exciting content.
Yeah.
You know.
Well, if you prep,
or like if you just lost, and it's like if it's like Sunday, Snoot's probably going like, I don't know what I'm going to do. I'm going to practice a lot, I guess. Like,
the thing is, when I host and I know that I'm going to do a pregame interview, I will give the questions to any player, but especially the Koreans, ahead of time, so they can formulate a better answer of what they want to say rather than putting them on the spot. And if you can do that for the post-game stuff or the post-tournament stuff for interviews like that. You tell all the players, you send them an email, say, hey, this is the whole weekend, this is how it's going to work. After all the matches are done, we're going to do post-game interviews with U6 players at this time, and then U6 players at this other time. Here are the questions we're going to ask, and this will be used for Season 2 hype videos. I mean, you might not even use some of them, but at least you have them in the can because you have the players physically there. And that's one of the biggest struggles right now of creating anything, is having a place where the players are there, so you can set up the lighting, you can set up everything that you want, and have it ready for the next season.
Yeah, that I think is the biggest obstacle to doing something like that, is you just don't have access to those players in person. And like the phrase "time is money" is very, very true in this situation. Like nobody has a lot of time. Everything is rushed in these kind of events. Like it's a weekend, so then a player has to go back to Korea or to somewhere in Europe or wherever.
Yeah, it is very difficult. And if we all lived in one central location in America, aka San Francisco or Southern California, with all the American teams.
You mean we don't?
Not yet. With all the American teams, then it's easier for a league to make that content around those American teams, to go to their team houses, to go to their areas, or to come to an arena. So location is huge, and Seoul has the advantage of that. Anyways, I thought it was a good event, even though we all were really pissed off at what was happening with WCS to begin with and how there was no region locks. I still think that this first season overall for all the regions was a success, that there will be more changes upcoming after Season 3 for 2014, and we'll still continue to build and to grow into something that's great. And one of the biggest successes, I think, will be the storylines moving into the finals that are happening in Korea. Even though a Korean is representing every region, it will build into
a huge
something.
amount of world representation of 4 people.
Yeah, I think that needs to be some changes as well. But congratulations to everyone involved. And Dave, good job. You were
thanks.
Good job, Dave.
You were the pro admin.
Nobody screenshotted me or anything. So
I saw someone messaging you one time, and I was like, Dave, yeah.
I know that guy.
Yeah. Like the one question, just sort of on when it comes to bitching about the world representation, what was wrong with last year's WCS thing? Like, we actually had world representation.
We did.
Just in terms of like, I'm sure there were logistical things that Blizzard were like, yeah, that was really shit to do because we had to invest this much money. We had to pay for Tastosis to go to Australia, which I'm sure costs them quite a lot. All these, forgetting logistical things and that kind of stuff. Was there an issue with the format when it came to that kind of thing?
I don't think there was, because I think it was neat to see people from Spain and from Brazil and from other areas participate there in China. Logistically, and of course I'm on the outside of that. I don't see the exact numbers of budgets of Blizzard, but I thought it was cool for the opening ceremony, despite how terrible the production was in China. Like, it was cool to see those nations. It was like WCG almost. Yeah,
it was like the Olympics, effectively.
Yeah.
Like, it's called, the World Championships, and it's kind of like, the world with 4 people, 2 of them are from, like, 3 of them are from Europe, and it's kind of like the same kind of country, because
we still got 2 of the best quotes ever from Tasos and Artosis. One was Spider, and the other one was Tasos. He goes, when I say go to commercial, you go to a goddamn commercial. And then it cuts out after that. So we're all at the bar crap just laughing our heads off. So it was funny. And of course the bitter damn F China thing that happened. Anyways, that's something we don't want to see at BlizzCon whatsoever, and I don't think that will happen. Let's go ahead and shift gears now. And let's talk about the Great Gatsby soundtrack real quick before I go into World of Tanks North America. We're all huge connoisseurs of amazing music. I haven't seen this film yet. I really want to, because I have loved Baz Luhrmann's films in the past, such as Romeo and Juliet and Moulin Rouge. But I was at work yesterday, and Josh Kulik is one of the best editors in the world. He actually does work for the LA Kings and for the Dodgers. He's one of the editors for Hero Level Productions. That's why we look so gosh darn good, because he's amazing, along with the rest of the team we have there. He started playing this song, and it's called Young and Beautiful, the DH orchestral version by Lana Del Rey, and it's from the Great Gatsby soundtrack. It's beautiful, and it makes me actually want to go out and see the movie. I don't know if it's going to be in theaters any longer, if I'd like this weekend, because I really don't have any time at all, because E3's next week as well, and we're launching World of Tanks tomorrow. But it's really good. You guys should definitely check it out. It's a really good song. I'll actually write it in chat. But did any of you guys see The Great Gatsby? Or you even read the book?
I've read the book. and not a huge fan of the book.
Okay.
And everything I've heard about the movie is that it's actually pretty terrible. So don't get your hopes up, buddy.
All right. I mean, it could be. It could be very terrible, not just a great song.
Yeah.
I haven't seen it. I haven't read it either, just mostly because it sounds like the name of a racehorse. I don't like racing, so.
It's one of those, like, super pretentious books you read in, like, an English class kind of things.
Oh, like Gattaca.
Hey, that was a cool movie. I liked Gattaca.
Yeah, that was a good movie.
Was that actually a book? I don't know.
I've
only
only just
seen
throwing
the
that out there because it was like.
I
the
liked
only
Gattaca.
thing
I
that
liked
remember
Gattaca
from
the movie,
English.
actually.
Yeah. All right. Any other cool songs you guys have found recently?
Cool songs?
Yeah.
Nah.
I had they're called the Kaiser Orchestra. It's the Russian, one of those Russian kind of folk band things. I don't know. I'll try and find the thing that I was watching on YouTube. It's really cool, but it's a very, very niche sort of thing. Yeah, I don't know. That's like the only real new music sort of thing that I've had lately. I just like they're very fun. I would link it in chat, but unfortunately,
No links in chat.
yeah, and not even I can do it with admin. It's kind of sad. There is what I can do actually. Hang on, let me just.
I've just still been listening to Daft Punk.
Yeah. I was the gym this morning. Somebody was parking next to me, and they were playing one of the Daft Punk songs from the new album. I almost want to give them a thumbs up and be like, "Cool album, bro," but I didn't. I just walked.
Get lucky, man. That's like the song of the summer so far.
It is. It is. Just like "Float On" was a song in the summer back in 2004, 2003, by Modest Mouse. That song took over the summer, man. Good song. All right.
Someone Alba Yayo watched Chinatown.
Oh, right on, Albert Yayo. The soundtrack was really good as well. Really built the suspense in the movie. It does build the suspense. Jack Nicholson's so good in that movie, too. I keep thinking about it. He does such a good job. Call Me Maybe it was last summer. That was last summer? Jeez.
Makes you feel old.
It does. Feels like forever ago. Well, I'm glad you got to check out Chinatown. If you guys haven't watched it, check it out. Okay, shifting gears. Let's go ahead and talk about World of Tanks North America. It launches tomorrow night. 6 p.m. Pacific Time, twitch.tv/WGLNA. That stands for Wargaming League North America. The qualifiers, it'll be 2 sets. We're in the first set of qualifiers. We've had around 80-something teams sign up. Pretty good number. And they will duke it out this week until Saturday, and then Sunday we'll have a recap show, and then the next week will be registration again for qualifiers number 2. If you don't make it into the first qualifiers, 4 teams will make it into the league, then you can sign up for the second qualifiers. So you have 2 chances to qualify. Next week we won't be broadcasting whatsoever from the studio. We'll actually be at E3. So that's going to be a busy week. The set looks awesome. We might have a stream test tonight at 6, so if you guys... I don't know if that's public or not. We'll see. But we are just putting on the very finishing touches, the last bit of polish for the studio, and then we're going to go live. So make sure to tune in. I know a lot of people are like, World of Tanks, what is this game? They're coming from StarCraft. But I thought that's the same thing about 6-7 months ago. Then I started to get into it, and it's a really fun game to play. I really like it. The progression takes a while. It makes you want to keep playing. And actually going through the history of the different tanks for these different segments that I'm building is pretty neat to see how, like during the 6-Day War, the IS-3 was almost impenetrable by the Israeli forces unless the Israeli forces used the Pattons to shoot them from the side to flank them, and they realized they could take them down. That's a real tank that you use in Wargaming. It has the same weaknesses as it did in real life. So to me, I find that really interesting. And you can check out the website, WGLNA.com, for more info. Okay, and finally, time to opine. What had happened this last week? Robert Olin sent a tweet from another individual that's a doctor out in Turkey, and he was talking about the atrocities that were happening in Turkey with the protests. And I simply asked, hey, how can I help? Because it seemed like a really big deal. And the man from Turkey, this doctor, says, hey, thanks for reaching out. You as a celebrity on Twitter can just tell people what's going on because the mainstream media is not doing it. I was like, I'm a celebrity in Turkey now. Awesome. But all selfish reasons aside, if you have not been following what's been going on in Turkey, it's pretty big. And the police are continually trying to crack down. The prime minister says that if you raise thousands, I'll bring millions. So he is not backing down at all against the Turkey protests. And for the most part, they're trying to just take down the fascist government that is ruling them. Mainstream media.
Is that even what they were doing? It started as like an Occupy Park thing, right?
Yeah, because
like
they didn't want the park to be demolished for a building or a mall to go up, and then they started to get harassed and hurt, and then more people started to protest, and that's when they claimed that it was a fascist government, because the government kept sending police and violence to quell the crowds, and the crowds would keep swelling to protest what was happening. And now the Prime Minister is not backing down whatsoever, and the people are sick of it. That's the latest I've heard. Most of what I've seen is through Reddit. And I go to the gym every day, and when I'm there, I see nothing on the televisions, Fox News or other news outlets that are talking about it at all.
It's becoming, it's a pretty crappy situation, just because like the freedom of speech is also starting to be oppressed as well. Like the Turkish government has, they've tried to stop one of the main news channels from broadcasting the speech of the opposition leader. So it's basically just turning into this, you know, it's not a dictatorship, but the same sort of thing where it's sort of heading in that direction, and it's just kind of like, this is not good at all.
Yeah.
So yeah, it fucking sucks when this shit happens. I really hate it, but yeah.
Yeah, it does. So, as the guy said, what we can do to help is not just to simply hit likes on Facebook, but it is to tell people, to tell your friends, hey, this is what's happening, and the news is not covering it. You should know what's going on. Because if it's planted in the minds of people to know what is actually happening, that's better than not knowing at all. It's better than being ignorant. And also, if there is relief funds going in that I don't know, I haven't seen anything yet, but if there are relief funds, there's only 3 organizations that I actually trust with my money as donations: the American Red Cross or the American Cancer Society, the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, or the Islamic Relief Fund, because of how they handle the money that goes into them. Nobody gets paid at the LDS Church, and nobody, I think, gets paid through the Islamic Relief Fund. And for the American Red Cross and Cancer, they do have overhead staff, but for the most part, they do a good job. The reason I know that is because I've done volunteer work with 2 of those organizations. So, just my opinion. Some heartless individuals like to pounce on these type of events in order to gain money and only donate 15% of the actual income that comes into the company. Yeah, Kony 2012. You guys remember that?
Oh my God! I saw a guy with a Kony 2012 bumper sticker right before I came home to get on the show.
Yeah.
I almost took a picture. I was like, wow, you're really sticking with that. After the naked hitting the sidewalk thing and everything, you pull that one off.
All right, we got 7 minutes. E3 predictions. Dave, what do you want to see at E3?
Games. I don't know. I want to see things that aren't Call of Duty, and hopefully some new IPs, and hopefully people on Reddit will stop bitching about Xbox not having games.
I want to see.
It was a hardware reveal, not a games reveal.
I know. I want to see RPGs, man. There's been too many shooters the last year. I want to see more RPGs. That was the top thread post on Reddit yesterday. Like, they're good shooters. Far Cry 3 was great. There's nothing wrong with it. BioShock Infinite, I thought, could have been better as an RPG, but still, it was a good game. But I want to see more RPGs, man, like Mass Effects or Final Fantasies, you know.
That'd be awesome. Destiny gameplay, I would like to see. I don't know if it'll be there or not, but I would like to see more about that game.
All right. Duckville, anything you want to see from E3?
Fragile Alliance 2.
Okay.
What?
No one's going to know the game Fragile Alliance, but like, if there is anyone in chat who knows what I'm talking about, please speak up now so I don't seem as ridiculous. But I don't know, that was a really cool RTS that I played a long time ago. We're talking Windows 95 days. That's when that game came out. But anyway, yeah, I don't know. I guess I don't know, some good stuff. I don't really follow sort of these sort of convention-y sort of things, just because I just rather, like, you know, I don't like to make predictions on that kind of stuff. You know, if anything, there was a thing a thing I saw from 4chan where it was talking about like Gabe Newell just coming out and just like, you know, slowly walking out of some darkness and some smoke, and then just suddenly holding his hands up and going like that, and then all the lights go out, and then everyone's like,
choirs.
That'd be awesome, but obviously we all know that's not going to happen. So
yeah.
Speaking of sequel sort of things, have you guys seen the movie Cube? The Cube?
No.
I think so. It's like people are trapped in
Yeah. That
Jennifer Lopez or something.
No, it's not that bad.
I think I've seen at least parts of it a long time ago.
I want to see Portal 3, but set in something like the Cube, where you have to escape, but you use portals and that kind of stuff. But anyway, that's just a random idea that
you guys will see more than I will possibly over the internet, because I'm going to be working a lot on the floor. But if ever I have a break, I have a couple people I have to actually go visit. But after that, I'm going to try to see how much I can actually see of the event itself. I can't think of a lot of games I'm actually excited about in the next upcoming year, except The Witcher 3. I'm really excited about that game. The Witcher 2 I thought was okay, and then I played it a second time on that crazy hard difficulty, and I enjoyed it so much more. The voice acting and the writing is so damn good. It's the type of RPGs that I wish we had more come out of America, but the Polish company does a great job. Watch Dogs, as Loggermouse says, looks intriguing. But of course, that kind of gameplay can either be very gimmicky or a whole nother level of what it's like to play in a sandbox type environment. All right, real quick, Duckville, can you explain to us what Spawn SC2 is?
Back in the day in StarCraft Brood War, we had there was the ability to install StarCraft, but it's kind of like I don't know if anyone else is like old enough to remember shareware versions of games where you had a couple of sort of demonstration sort of levels, a little bit like a demo, but a little bit more extended and involved. Same thing was in StarCraft Brood War, where effectively you had a friend. This is back in the obviously late 90s when this sort of stuff was around a lot more. Was you could install a minor sort of version of the game, have some fun at a LAN or something like that. If you didn't have the game, you could test it out. And then if you really liked it, you could buy the full game, play the campaign, all this sort of stuff. Exact same thing coming back to StarCraft 2. I think this is, while it's nice to be better late than never, I'm astounded that this didn't happen before with StarCraft 2. But effectively, you get to play a little bit of StarCraft 2. It's not the whole thing. It's just you only get to play Terran. You don't get the campaign or anything like that, as far as I remember. But there are, you get to test it out, which is a nice thing. The starter edition of the game, effectively, is what they're also calling it.
You can spawn up to 14 friends, I think it's.
Yeah, something like that.
12 to 14. Well, it's a step closer to that kind of free to test out type
exactly.
Thing.
Yeah. That's it's good to see that they've finally brought that out.
Yeah, neato.
That's the second of the better late than never things that Blizzard's done that I'm excited about.
It's like,
go ahead, Dave.
It's like no, you can't leave me. What's it like, man? I gotta know now.
All right, what's it like, Duckville?
What's it like?
Well, I was gonna say it's like number 64,000 on the list of things that have been
well,
I've seen that.
Well,
list.
I mean, of things that have just happened now. But the WCS portal that they got going is fantastic. And oh my god, my job would have been so much easier if that came out like before everything started. So people wouldn't ask me all these questions about the format, what are these points worth, things like that.
Yeah.
That's super awesome. I'm glad it's finally a thing that we can reference.
Having those portal pages and those Liquipedia and for StarCraft and Dota and the Leaguepedia, and we're trying to get up a Tankspedia set up, or whatever to call it. It is such a huge tool to use that anybody can access for history, for stats, data, player profiles. It is fantastic, and it's part of the reason why the internet is so good. It does take dedicated people to enter that information, but it really is awesome. And it's so cool when you go, oh, you want to learn about this game, what happened last night? Well, boom, here's the website. You can go and see a write-up about it. And then you can see all the stats about it. It's really fantastic.
They ought to stick a permanent link to that as soon as you log into StarCraft.
Exactly.
Like right up front.
Good idea.
Here's the WCS portal.
Anything you can incorporate into the actual client is how you get to a bigger audience in a market that already exists, which is the player base. Okay, and finally, Duckville, you added the Dota 2 Parity patch. What is this? Before we sign
up. Lots of, just really quickly, of course, the Dota 1, which is still pretty popular in the Philippines and in China and this kind of stuff, where there's still a relatively competitive high-level scene in Dota 1. There has been a really huge patch which was slated to come out before TI3. I don't know if anyone expected it this quickly, but 6.78 has come out in Dota 1. There is a plethora of changes across the whole hero lineup. My favorite one was Meepo got a buff. He's now got 35% magic resistance.
Why is Meepo buffed?
Because he's a hard hero,
Because he's a
man.
gentleman and a scholar. That's why.
Exactly. But
If I played Dota,
surround somebody with all your versions and you die. It's
there's a lot of changes across. I'm pretty sure most of the heroes, not every single one, but most of the heroes. Big level, high level heroes got nerfed. Unused heroes got a bit of a buff. I think Huskar is one of the interesting ones that got a buff. There are also 2 new heroes, a strength hero and an intelligence hero, which look kind of interesting. It looks like Dazzle might be out of a job when it comes to the new intelligence hero. But there is also a few changes to the captain's mode draft picking, which makes it a little bit more tactical. You have to be a little bit more careful about picking your heroes and banning your heroes, this kind of thing. The Parity patch will be coming out this week. It's currently in the Dota 2 test client. You can jump on and have a test with that if you want yourself. And that will be released on Friday, I would assume, assuming there's no issues or anything like that. So that's going to be it's going to be a pretty big change. There will be definitely some high-level based changes to picking and this kind of thing, which is going to be really cool to see because I think everyone's getting really bored of seeing Syllabear and Nyax, or Lifestealer, I should say. So I am really excited for this patch, and I'm also really excited for what could be next week or perhaps the week after, when there is actually a new hero in Dota 2, which should be the Legion Commander, or perhaps Lord of Avernus. Which should be
the last one was Elder Titan, right?
Correct.
I still haven't played him yet. I need to.
Shout out to Logram in the chat, because he is the best Meepo in Australia. Just mention that because he mentioned it. Totally forgot. Also,
congratulations to the new World of Tanks Dignitas team that just got signed. That's pretty cool. All right, guys, it's time to say goodbye. We'd like to appreciate, so we'll say thank you to everyone that watched. And I'm going to go ahead and let Duckville have the first round of shout-outs. Go ahead.
Yeah, of course, thanks for watching, everybody, and thanks for having me on the show. There are OES, the Oceanic eSports. If you haven't, even if you're not in Australia, I would really appreciate it if everyone could jump onto facebook.com/Oceanic eSports, which is our Facebook page, just to get some likes over there, which would be really nice. I have to shout out to Nisa. I can't remember how to say it, but she's gonna cry if I don't give her a shout out. So there you go, Jordan. Yeah, if everyone could jump on the Facebook page, it's really cool. Also jump on my Facebook page. It's facebook.com/duckville.casting. I am trying to make sure that I'm posting regularly on there with all sorts of things. Yeah, I've got a couple of new casts that have just gone up as well. And you can find me streaming on twitch.tv/duckville. I don't think I'll be streaming tonight on this channel here on The Handsome Nerd, just because I've got some things I've got to do in the evening on Wednesdays. Yeah, I'll see what I can do about the other days that I'm meant to be streaming as well. And yeah, that's it.
All right, Duckville, thanks for being on the show. Best admin NA, Wigan. Shoutouts.
Just thanks for having me, man. This is always fun. I don't really have any teams or anything like that to shout out to, so follow me
Kung
on
Fu
Twitter.
Treachery. That's where it all started, man. Kung Fu Treachery.
We need to resurrect it.
All right, I gotta tell this quick story right now. So we're at the first ever MLG event for StarCraft, Wigan, myself, and our buddy Lee, and we're walking around, and I look under a door, under a window, and I try to see if anybody's there, and I can't see anything. And then we walk away, and somebody comes out of the door, and it's Mark and JP McDaniel. And they walk out like, hey, can we guys help you? Like, oh, hey, we're just looking for this and that. And like, oh, are you Josh? And they thought I was Josh Suth, not me, Josh. And so I was like, yeah. Like, all right, we'll work on getting you a press pass. All right, cool. They're like, what team you with? And I go, Kung Fu Treachery. And Dave starts cracking up, and we just walk off. Guess what, Dave? It worked. Here we are.
We both got our jobs from that, basically.
Yeah. That's right, man. That's right. All right. Well, as always, thanks for being on the show, gents. There will not be a Shifting Gears next week because I'll be at E3. I know there's going to be a lot to talk about after E3 and after Game of Thrones. We will definitely get to that. It'll be a huge, jam-packed, 1-hour-long episode. But if you want to follow me on Twitter, you can do so at Clutch08, Facebook/8Clutch, and YouTube, where this VOD will be uploaded, YouTube/8Clutch. Thanks for watching. We'll see you guys next time.